I think we can see it playing out in numerous different companies where they're letting go staff because those jobs have been replaced by AI. So I think it's important if you're in your 20s or 30s, well, any age, but particularly if you're trying to get your sort of professional career off the ground, to work out what exact jobs will be replaced by AI. Because I think that's important before you decide on your career or you're trying to progress your career, that at least you can understand areas that are likely to be made redundant. And, you need to have a plan that just in case it is made redundant, this particular area, that you have an alternative or maybe avoid it in the first place. So I'm using Claude today. I change it up all the time. I was using Gemini for the last few days. Um, I find Claude is a bit more ethical. So let me know what you think in that regard. And people do have favorites, and it's interesting because chat GBT is definitely being overtaken by some of the other LLMs. So this is Claude saying it'll share its perspective on what it's like to be likely to be replaced by AI and will probably remain the domain of humans. AI is most likely to replace tasks and roles that involve, okay, data processing and analysis. Stay away from that, definitely. Predictable physical work through robotics and AI. Now, we already see this with Tesla. Certain parts of the Tesla gigafactories are up to 95% automated. We certainly see it with a company called Ocado, and really interesting their use of digital twins, robotics, and AI. Basic content generation like news summaries and standard reports, synopsis, etc. Yeah, it's really good at doing that. First level customer service interactions. Now, we see that it's particularly strong in regard to chatbots. Now, they're not at a level that's satisfactory to customers at the moment, but they will definitely get there. Image recognition and classification tasks. So I've just looked at Clearview AI, very interesting company that has data scraped all of the images from the internet, predominantly Facebook, etc. You mightn't have posted it. Someone else might have posted an image of you. They now have that database. And classification tasks, really interesting, and something when you look like cancer, say breast cancer, being able to identify if it's malignant or benign, not solely on its own, but an excellent support tool. Repetitive legal document review, love it. So the lawyers better watch out. Basic medical diagnostics of common conditions. So that would be very beneficial from the point of view of an app that a GP, a doctor could use in regard to, say, maybe moles, certain aspects like that, and would be very beneficial as a support. Um, Language translation, we looked at DeepL, absolutely fantastic for language translation. Not an area we'll get into for a career going forward. And scheduling and basic administrative tasks, we've seen numerous different products and we'll be looking at them in our AI tools Monday. Numerous roles will be harder to fully automate. So when they're talking about Tesla, they say certain aspects that they tried to automate, they went back on because things like two hoses up in the air that you need to put together is very difficult for a robot to do. However, it's quite easy for a human to do. So they found that there are certain aspects that really just automation didn't work for. So jobs looking for complex emotional intelligence and human connection, creative and innovative work. Now that area is being eroded a bit when we look at the text image generators, text video generators. Nuanced ethical judgment. It was interesting because I chose Claude in regard to its ethical approach to generative AI. We did cover this under AI hallucinations. So if you look at DeepSeek, the Chinese LLM generative AI, and you ask it about Tiananmen Square, it does not give you an answer. If you ask Rourke about Elon Musk doing a Nazi salute at CPAC, it denies it. So that's where we have to be very careful in the trust that we give to generative AI. We always have to kind of double check it. Occupations built on relationships. There was an interesting research this week in regard to people who spent more and more time with generative AI. Not almost like a relationship, the amount of time they spent actually became more and more lonely as the time went on. where you need physical dexterity in unpredictable environments. And that's actually the example I just gave you there of Tesla. Situations demanding cross domain expertise with cultural context. Now, I think that's an area of cultural context, the nuances of that will be able to be built up into the LLM. And leadership's positions requiring inspiration and motivation, absolutely. But you can see that there are many areas you'd want to be very careful about if you're looking in regard to a career, and sort of rethinking it and seeing where AI will be going in the next 5 to 10 years. When we look at the last year to 2 years, it's extraordinary. So these are the areas, the jobs, the professions that will be replaced by AI.